discuss today was the variations in training programs that are available to many powerlifters. They often get thrown around on the internet. What's better for this? What's better for that? You should be doing this. You should be doing that. You should be doing the other. There's people out there that are notorious for trying to give their advice to people, to other people's clients, and to various people, and they'll always base it on what works for them, not necessarily what's going to work and be optimal for that person. Now, we all know there's all these different training programs. You have things like the conjugate method, popularised by Westside. You have various options such as the Cube. We've all heard of the Chico system, Smolov templates, German volume training, all these different methods. Now, fundamentally, they've all got a similarity to them. First and foremost, they've each got to give you a stimulus that's enough for your body to want to adapt. If it's going to work inside your boundaries, there's no reason for your body to have to adapt to it, so it's not going to bother. So they're all offering a stimulus in a different way, be it a heavy weight, be it high repetitions of weight inducing muscular fatigue. Now, in terms of a lifter, it very much depends on where they are in their career and where they are in their training mesocycles as to what's going to be optimal for them at that time. Just after a competition, it may be that they're the type of lifter that tries to maintain their peak strength and would like to do a routine which still involves many singles, doubles, triples. There may be a lifter that feels complete nervous system fatigue and then wants to back off a heavier weight and work on some more greater volume systems, really, almost closer to a sort of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy system. They all do another thing as well, in that they'll all use the main lifts at some point, and they have to do this really for powerlifting, because you're not practicing your sport if you're not performing the main lifts. You don't get a footballer to go and just kick a beach ball around all the time. They'll train with the football that they're going to kick. The same with rugby. They're not going to start messing around throwing tennis balls to each other all the time. There's going to be some point when they're going to have to use what is relevant to their sport. Now, all of the routines do this, some to a greater extent, some to a lesser extent, and a lot of it depends on your personal preference as to how you'll apply these. Now, there's always arguments, what's better, what works, what doesn't work. The real thing is, they all work. They will all work. They won't all work for everybody. Depending on your muscle fibre type, your body shape, you may find certain routines harder than the others. And this is where good coaching comes in, being able to identify what system is going to be the most effective for you as a person, which quite frankly only comes with years of experience. I was once told something by my friend Jordana, and he stuck with me a long time, and I do think it rings true with training systems. The one that's going to be the most effective for you at any given time, it's going to be the one that you believe in and apply yourself to. If you've got a negative interpretation of a routine that you're given, chances are you're going to start deviating from that routine or not applying your full effort to that routine, and thus the routine's not going to do anything like it intended to do, and you'll blame the routine for it rather than actually looking at the things that you've changed from the routine. This is quite common in people. People will adapt routines to suit themselves. I've heard of 5-3-1 being adapted to people doing 8-5-3s, people changing the weights on the Cube method because they wanted to use this, that or the other. Now, you can't really blame a routine for something if you're not working to the routine. You're working to a sort of template around it. It's almost a bastardised version of that routine, and that can come in quite useful if you're an experienced lifter and you can apply these changes and you know what your best response is. But if you're a junior lifter, really, you need to start looking at the things that are making you do what you need to do most, which is practice your sport, get stronger and become a better lifter. Now, strength is not the only aspect of powerlifting. Muscle sequence timing, your lines of lifting flexibility, all these things come in. For that reason, I tend to prefer for junior lifters, and I'm talking experience, not age here, I prefer the Eastern Bloc methods purely because they're more voluminous based around the main lifts. You may be squatting twice in one session, you may be squatting 3 or 4 times a week, for example. But what it's doing is it's building the motor so that if it becomes a point where they do get into trouble with a weight, their natural default is to fall back and work the correct line that they've been training in. As you get more advanced, this might not work. The numbers that you shift could get to the point where they become quite massive, and 80%, what 10 years ago to you, was achievable to be training 3 or 4 squat sessions a week, and then 80% where you are now, we could be talking that this is lifting sort of on a multiple account 3 or 4 times a week, a 300 kilo plus squat. Now, there's no way your nervous system and joints are going to get away with doing that much frequency with that sort of heavy weight. This is going to affect as well the heavier male lifters more, purely because of the poundage that they shift. Because as we know, it's not a sort of linear growth in terms of strength and the forces going through the body. It's more sort of like an exponential decline that's going to happen to the joints when we have these kind of forces applied to them. So this is where you have to become sensible and start applying your training knowledge and looking at the experience of coaches and other athletes that are in a similar situation, and more importantly, have a similar biomechanical structure to you. There's no use someone that's 5'8" with short limbs that likes to do a wide stance squat start telling somebody that's 6'2" with a long femur, you need to squat like me, because it's not going to be anything like the same squat. The forces are going to be all over the place compared to it. So I think you've got to be sensible with that. So when you are arguing about these various methods and these various programs, bear in mind all of them have had some success. There's lifters that have achieved great things using the conjugate method, the cube method, Smolov templates, the Shiko templates. They've all had some success. We've had many champions that just train intuitively when they go to the gym. Again, that's not an issue. The systems remain pretty much the same. There's a progressive overload, a progressive adaptation to the stimulus of the weights, and there's a progressive improvement in their technical ability of that particular lift. That's all the training program really is. Around the main lifts, you pick them apart and you say, right, okay, this part of the lift isn't flowing as smoothly as it should. Is it a timing issue? Is it a joint issue? Is it a muscular imbalance? And then your assistance targets that. But if your assistance is not helping the main lift, it stops being assistance, it just becomes exercise. So when you're having a look at these programs, rather than arguing the toss because you prefer one method and another person prefers this method, bear in mind all these methods will work. It doesn't mean one's right and one's wrong, but there are right and wrong ones for you at your particular point in lifting, and that doesn't mean to say it's going to be the same one all the time. You have to learn to adapt. The reason that humans are able to take over the world is that we have the ability to adapt. People think it's the intellect side of things. It's not. It's the survival instinct we have. But however, the intellect side of things is what enables you to understand that adaptation in these training methods is what will get you optimal results. You can't always bang against the door that's not going to move. Sometimes you have to look for another route and go around it, climb over it, tunnel through it, however you can get there. But some adaptation and being sensible with this, and this is where experience from coaches, experience from other lifters, and experience from research becomes vital. So don't ignore these things. Don't assume because one routine's written down that you must do this weight on this day. If you can't do it, it's not always your fault. You may have had a bad night's sleep, a bad meal, you may be stressed at that particular time. You may go in there feeling like the Hulk and actually annihilate those weights and think this wasn't enough today to cause stimulus. This is the way things are with training, and you have to work around them and maintain a consistency in your training, that you're consistently looking for improvement and adaptation. You're trying to improve your body to better bear heavy weights, and you're trying to improve yourself as an athlete. And remember, that doesn't just include strength. We're talking about timing of lift, mental attitude towards lift, how much you're helping other people. One thing you can do is, if you try and help other people, start listening to what you're saying, because half the time you'll find out that you'll learn a few things about yourself when you're doing it as well. Don't assume that there's one mould that will work for everybody, because it doesn't. It's not a one-size-fits-all job. We're all different. We've all got different mechanical structures, and within those mechanical structures, we've all got different firing sequences, muscle fibre types. You know, it is the old cliche of you're unique, just like everybody else. But for that means that we have to adapt training to suit those methods. So less bitching about what this does, what that does, this isn't worth it, that isn't worth it. You'll find it is worth it for some people. Just what you've got to do is get your head down, find what works for you, and focus on doing that, and focus on improving yourself and being a better lifter. Put more energy into what you've got to do for yourself than worrying about what other people are saying, and you'll progress far, far more. Stay strong, people. Stay healthy.